Video games as a medium have been around for almost 65 years. The first ever video game was Tennis for Two, which was created way back in 1958, a time before the internet, before cell phones, and when Dwight D. Eisenhower was still the president. And that's not even the most shocking part. There was only one video game in existence. Fast forward to present day, and the number of video games is staggering. In 2024 alone, 19,000 games launched on Steam, and Roblox in 2020 reported over 20 million games are created on their platform each year. I'm not the oldest guy, but I just turned 40 this past year, and I've been playing games for a long time, ever since I was 4 or 5 years old. The first console my parents bought us was the ColecoVision back in the 1980s. Smurfs, Mousetrap, and Popeye were some of the first games I ever played, and I've been hooked ever since. And that brings me to the topic of this video. With decades of gaming behind me, I can honestly say we might have just experienced one of the best gaming months we've ever seen. I really do believe September 2025 could go down as the single greatest month of video games ever. And that got me to thinking, what is the best month in gaming history? What are the months that made it impossible to play everything? The ones that filled up our backlogs more than any other. I wanted to dig into this. So over the past couple weeks, I've been researching through every video game release month, trying to find the best of the best. So before I get into the mind-blowing month of September 2025, let's go back in time and break down 5 of the best months that I could find. And to start this journey off, we got to go back 21 years to 2004, which is the same year I graduated high school, and 4 years into the 6th generation of consoles. And while there were a lot of amazing games that came out in 2004, like Splinter Cell Pandora Tomorrow, Thief Deadly Shadows, Silent Hill 4 The Room, The First Fable, and Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, what I want to talk about specifically is November 2004, a month that offered a vast amount of genres, shooters, racers, platformers, and the beginning of the biggest MMO of all time. So let's go ahead and start off with the first game that released that month, which hit store shelves on November 1st, 2004, and that was Counter-Strike Source. Counter-Strike was always one of those go-to games for me and my friends back in high school. I was never the best at it, but I was always obsessed with watching my friends that were really good at it. And I also remember Counter-Strike being one of the first esports games that I ever watched too. This was competitive gaming before streaming even existed. Then one day later, we had the first Killzone game, which turned into a 7-game franchise, and Ratchet & Clank Up Your Arsenal. And to this day, Up Your Arsenal is still the highest reviewed game in the series, which is pretty crazy. Then 5 days later, on November 9th, we got 2 more games. First was Jak 3 from old school Naughty Dog, and the second game was one of the best first-person shooters of all time, Halo 2. Then we got Need for Speed Underground 2 on the 15th, which was the month's best racing game. And then just 1 week after Halo 2 came out, we got another one of the all-time great first-person shooters, Half-Life 2.
The right man in the wrong place can make all the difference in the world. So wake up, Mr. Freeman. Wake up and smell the ashes.
And on the same day as Half-Life 2, Vampire Masquerade Bloodline also came out on November 16th, which actually just got its sequel last month in October, 21 years after the first game. And you might be thinking, we've already hit the peak of this month, but no. After Halo 2 and Half-Life 2, just 24 hours later, we got one of the best stealth games of all time, Metal Gear Solid 3, Snake Eater, which would be Kojima's last game on the PS2. And for many, this is considered the best Metal Gear Solid game. It's gotta be number 1 or number 2 for me personally. I tend to lean towards the original myself, but number 3 is right up there too.
Do you hear me, Snake? I am the end.
And the last game I'll cover for this month, and probably the biggest game of the month, which is insane considering this month contained Halo 2, Half-Life 2, and Metal Gear Solid 3. But this month's biggest game has to go to World of Warcraft, which is a game that's still alive 21 years later. Just at Gamescom this year, they announced a brand new expansion called Midnight. So as of right now, it appears this game is just going to live on forever. While some franchises have existed for longer than this with multiple games, I don't think we can say a single game has existed for more than 21 years. The second month I uncovered in my research that absolutely blew me away was November 2007, a month that would be the beginnings of some of the biggest franchises to this day. Call of Duty Modern Warfare might not have started the Call of Duty series, but it's the game that made it what it is today, blowing up the franchise into the biggest series in gaming. While a lot of us have stopped playing Call of Duty, I still have fond memories of when this game came out. I remember leading up to the launch of Modern Warfare, they had one of the best game trailers I had ever seen. I still quote it to this day. The bad guy in the trailer is saying something like, "Rust to the dust to the west."
Our so-called leaders prostituted us to the West, destroyed our culture, our economies, our honor.
And I really have no idea what it means, but I thought it sounded so damn cool. And this was the beginning of me and my family playing games online religiously. And every sequel after that was an epic event. Then we have my personal favorite Mario game of all time, Super Mario Galaxy. I never thought Super Mario World would ever be topped when I was growing up, but Galaxy was and still is the peak of the franchise. I don't think there's anything in this series that can top the gravity gameplay, and the music is honestly my favorite of the whole series. Then we have Kane & Lynch Dead Men. I remember this game being super stylistic at the time and brutal as hell. This was like the era of games where developers were doing whatever the hell they wanted, and that's what I really appreciated about this game. And I also remember the controversy with Jeff Gerstmann being fired just because he gave it a 6 out of 10. Then we had the first of the 2 Resident Evil light gun games with Resident Evil Umbrella Chronicles. And while these aren't my favorite Resident Evils, I like that they tried something different. Then we have Crysis, which was the most technically advanced game of the decade. Whenever you see anybody testing how powerful a PC was, they'd always use Crysis. Then Rock Band saw its first release, which is a game I only played at parties. I never actually owned it myself, but I know this game was massive, so I wanted to include it. And for the final 3 games I want to highlight for this month, all came out within 1 week of each other, and kickstarted 3 of the most critically acclaimed franchises in gaming history. On November 13th, we got the first Assassin's Creed, which would become an instant classic, going on to sell 8 million copies, 12 sequels, and would even go on to get its own movie starring Michael Fassbender in 2016. I remember loving this game back in 2007, but I don't think any of us could have imagined how big this franchise would become. It would become so popular that Ubisoft would start releasing a new game every year, starting with Assassin's Creed 2, even releasing 2 entries in 2014 with Unity and Rogue, which is the first time I actually felt like I was getting burnt out. I would come back the next year and play Syndicate in 2015, and really loving that game actually, but I've kind of fallen out with the series ever since then. But that doesn't mean I wouldn't come back and play another one. I'm just kind of waiting on that era that gets me excited. I personally always wanted the American Civil War, but sadly this year they actually leaked out that the Civil War game was canceled because of political climate, which is sad, man. I really hope they change their mind someday and do that era justice. Then just 3 days later, we would go on our first treasure hunting adventure with Nathan Drake and the PS3 exclusive Uncharted Drake's Fortune. This was the exclusive that got me to buy the PS3, and even though it's a bit dated today, it was the only third-person cover shooter that seriously competed with Gears of War, and it would go on to give Sony one of the best franchises for the next 2 generations, going on to spawn 3 critically acclaimed sequels and a spin-off in Lost Legacy. And this was the coming out party for Nolan North, being the voice actor for not only Nathan Drake, but also Desmond Miles Miles in the last game we talked about, Assassin's Creed, where he would go on to become the biggest voice actor in the industry for over a decade. And even though I feel like the series ended perfectly with The Thief's End, I'd love to see them revisit the series someday.
I tell you what, why don't you stay here? I'll check it out myself. I'll call you if I run into any Nazis.
Yeah, right. You do that.
Oh, wait. Hold on to this for me, will you? Okay. Looks like I'm gonna have to do this the hard way.
And then our final game of the month, on November 20th, was the first Mass Effect. When I look back at this game, I think it had the best story that year, and it felt like it was the first time in any video game where I was truly exploring the galaxy. This game felt so revolutionary at the time. It started a franchise where your decisions really mattered, each of those decisions carrying over to subsequent games, so every major story decision felt so important.
The Council's going to want answers.
The Council can kiss my ass. I won't let them blame me for losing the beacon. I didn't do anything wrong.
And I feel like this narrative design has never been replicated in any other franchise. And I don't think it's because companies wouldn't want to do it, but it's probably really hard to pull off. And over the next 10 years, Mass Effect would go on to get 3 sequels. And even though I ended up going on to like Mass Effect 2 the most, I still have fond memories of this game. I still remember to this day the moment you first see Saren at the beginning of the game and he points his gun at the back of the other Turian. It still gives me goosebumps.
The situation's bad.
Don't worry. I've got it under control.
And hopefully sometime in the next year, we'll hear something about Mass Effect 4. It's definitely going to be one of my most anticipated games when it comes out. And the third month I want to talk about is May 2010.
Yes. All right.
Which is a month that not only saw the release of my favorite game of all time, but one of the best racing battles in gaming history, with Split Second coming out on May 18th and Blur coming out on May 25th. These were two of the most promising arcade-style racers to come out in the whole 7th generation, and they decided to release them within 1 week of each other. I remember the community being pretty split on which game was the best, but I personally became a bigger fan of Blur. The game's multiplayer was addictive and chaotic. It was such a cool take on the Mario Kart formula, just with real cars, and to this day this is my all-time favorite racing game. And even though both these games would never get their own sequels, they are still beloved today. Then Skate 3 would also release this month on May 11th and would actually end up becoming the last Skate game for almost 15 years. Then there was Lost Planet, which would also get its second game on May 11th. While this isn't the biggest game series, I always enjoyed playing them. And then we got the highly anticipated Mario Galaxy 2, which would release to universal acclaim with a 97 Metacritic score. And it was actually the highest reviewed game of the whole year, which is why I find it so surprising we haven't got our third game yet, which I actually think is going to change soon, with Nintendo setting the second Mario movie in the Galaxy universe, and the first and second game getting a new bundle last month. I think we are closer to the sequel than ever before.
Let's go!
But the most memorable part of this month has to go to the two games that released on May 18th, 2010. And this was Red Dead Redemption and Alan Wake. And famously, Red Dead Redemption dominated the sales charts, while Alan Wake failed to even come close to reaching sales expectations. I'll never forget this month because I had this deep hatred for Red Dead Redemption back in the day, because it overshadowed my favorite game at the time. It not only dominated the sales charts, but it went on to win Game of the Year at the Game Awards.
Okay, here we go. Biggest award of the evening. Game of the Year. The winner of Game of the Year is Red Dead Redemption.
Alan Wake didn't even get a nomination during that award show, which to me was laughable at the time. I actually rewatched the award show just to find footage for this video, and I'm not kidding, Alan Wake wasn't even mentioned one time. It's as if the game didn't even exist. And then later I would end up playing Red Dead Redemption and really liking it, but it took me a while to get there. And then 8 years later, Red Dead Redemption 2 would become my favorite game of that year. So with that said, nowadays I'm definitely over it, but at the time I was pretty upset. Luckily, after years of us begging for an Alan Wake sequel, we would finally get it 13 years later. But it wasn't the sequel I had dreamed of for years. And I can't help but think if Alan Wake hadn't released on that dreaded May 18, 2010, would we have gotten the true Alan Wake sequel we had expected back in the 2010s? When I look back at this month, while it's amazing and one of the best months of all time, it seemed to have some bad luck looming over it. Besides Lost Planet and Red Dead Redemption, all these games would either take 13 plus years to get their next games, or they still haven't even got a sequel yet. But if Alan Wake 2 has taught me anything, a sequel is never off the table.
My brothers and sisters of the United States of America, tonight, we, the free people of the resistance, ask you to become one of us. Did you forget? They beat us! They murdered us! They executed us!
Now, let's fast forward 7 years to the 8th generation of consoles. This was October 2017. If November 2007 was the month of new IPs, October 2017 was the month of the sequels. All 6 of the games I'll cover here are sequels. The month actually started off pretty damn slow, with no big games in the first 9 days, until the 10th day hit and Middle-earth: Shadow of War released. This was the follow-up to Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor. I wasn't as big a fan of the second game, but it was definitely one of the biggest games of the year. Then my most anticipated game that year was Evil Within 2, the follow-up to my favorite survival horror game of all time. And this one actually turned out pretty damn good. I still definitely prefer the first game, but Evil Within 2 is an awesome game.
What has become of this city? There used to be laws, justice, not anymore. Crime is out of control, cats are missing, and townspeople are being victimized.
Oh, hey! Who pooped on my porch?
What's going on with you? Whoa!
Then we got South Park: The Fractured Butthole on October 17th, which took the series from the fantasy setting of the first game to a story where the kids were dressing up as their superhero counterparts. And again, this is the theme of this month so far. Fractured Butthole was a decent game, but not as good as the first game. And now let's talk about the 3 games that motivated me to pick this month. Not because they are the best games of all time, but they're 3 games from 3 huge franchises that released on the same exact day, October 27, 2017. And the first of the 3 games was Assassin's Creed Origins.
Your legend, assassin, is spreading.
Which took the franchise in a completely new direction. This game would have more traditional boss fights and would be set in Egypt this time around. And just like almost every Assassin's Creed game before it, Origins would go on to sell over 10 million copies.
Assassin's Creed Origins, available October 27th.
Then the second game on the 27th was Super Mario Odyssey, which felt like a throwback to Mario 64. And this time they would introduce a Kirby-like mechanic where you would use your hat named Cappy to turn Mario into different shapes and enemies. It was pretty damn cool. And the third game that day was my personal 2017 Game of the Year, Wolfenstein: The New Colossus.
But guess what? They fucked with the wrong country.
Come and fucking get me, you fascist Nazi pigs.
And if tonight we see you on the streets with a knife, or just your clenched fist fighting the powers that be, then you are one of us.
I see from time to time online people hating this game, but man, this game blew me away. The balance of the series tones of the story and the humor that they blended in was perfection to me. And it's a crime we haven't gotten the third game yet, because BJ is one of the best characters of the whole last generation.
This is true of the Nazis. They're not lacking in vanity.
This and Wolfenstein New Order had the perfect amount of action combined with stealth that I really love. And on top of that, I actually really like the story. I think it has one of the best villains of all time. The Engel chick, or whatever her name is. Irene Engel. God, she was creepy. Overall, the main reason I wanted to include this month is because of how it ended with those three massive games, all hitting on the same day. I remember having to choose between those three which one I was going to play. I ended up playing Super Mario Odyssey first, but I actually ended up liking Wolfenstein: The New Colossus the most. But yeah, it was one of the most jam-packed days in gaming history. For our final month before we go back to present day, I want to talk about February 2022. This is a month that really stuck out to me, not because it had the most games overall, but the 5 games it did have were massive, and they all released within 3 weeks of each other. On February 4th, we got Dying Light 2. While not as good as the original, this game had some really great traversal with the paraglider, and the music overall was amazing. Then on February 15th, we got the next-gen versions for Cyberpunk 2077.
Listen, kid. If there's one thing I can tell you about this city, you either love it or want to burn it.
And after 2 years of everybody raining on Cyberpunk, I feel like after these versions are released, most people nowadays are pretty positive about the game.
But if you want to know for sure, you just need to try it for yourself.
Then just 3 days later, on February 18th, we got Horizon Forbidden West. And honestly, this game blew me away at the time. It still has one of my favorite looking open worlds. It's so damn beautiful, man. I was in constant awe while I was playing of every environment. And while this didn't win my Game of the Year, it was definitely in my top 3 games of 2022. And even though we haven't heard about the third game yet, I personally cannot wait to see where they go next. Then 4 days later, on February 22nd, Destiny 2 got its new Witch Queen expansion.
Truth is a funny thing. Does it live in the world or in the mind?
And even though I can't personally give an opinion on this one, because I haven't played Destiny in like 7 years, from what I'm seeing online is that this might be one of the last great pieces of content from Destiny 2. I personally struggle to even consider going back to Destiny 2 because they vaulted so much content I would want to play. I stopped right before Forsaken, and when I later wanted to go play it, I realized it wasn't even available anymore. That's when I personally checked out. At this point, I'm just kind of waiting for Destiny 3, if it even ever happens. But with all that said, the Witch Queen expansion releasing this month was still a big deal for a lot of people, bringing back over 1 million players on the day it launched, and you can't argue with how big Destiny as a franchise is, racking up over 70 million players since Destiny 2 launched in 2017. And last, but definitely not least, on February 25th was Elden Ring.
The Tarnished will soon return.
Someone must extinguish thy flame.
Not only becoming the biggest game of 2022, it is now one of the most critically acclaimed games of all time, and as of April 2025, it has sold over 30 million copies. This month was pretty damn crazy when you think about it, because 4 of the 5 games that we talked about were big open world games. And with Destiny being an MMO that basically never ends, this month might have given players the most amount of content to play ever. And that's why I wanted to talk about this month, is because those 5 games were just so big. Now, let's go ahead and hop back to current day and talk about the month that inspired this video, September 2025. Just in this 1 month alone, there are what I would consider 9 big game releases that came out. And that's not even all the games. That's just the ones I played or I'm excited to play. So let's go ahead and jump into how September kicked off. And it actually started before September. Just 10 days before, on August 21st, Team Cherry shadow dropped the release date for Hollow Knight Silksong. And the game was finally coming out on September 4th. It was just 2 weeks away at that point, after 6.5 years of waiting. I thought this month was already going to be amazing, but when Silksong got announced for September, it was not only surprising, it seemed insane to me because the month was already so packed. So at that point, Silksong became the first game I was going to play of the month. And just based off the first 30 hours or so, it really does feel like I'm playing Hollow Knight for the first time in 2017. From the get-go, you're lost with no map, environments are beautiful, music is amazing. I couldn't have imagined this sequel actually being able to meet expectations, but I think they actually did it. If I had to complain about anything, I would say it's a bit heavy on platforming. You know, the platforming where you hit your weapon down and you bounce off things? I've never been a big fan of that in this series, but overall, the game other than that is amazing. Then the next game, which was the first game I planned on playing before Silksong was announced, and might be up there for my favorite game of the month, is Hell Is Us. Hell Is Us is a difficult game to describe. It's an action game that feels like a Souls game at times, but you're not losing souls and having to regain them after you die. It's a lot more relaxed in that department, and I felt like it turned out to not only be a great detective-style game, I felt like I was investigating things like a detective at times. The game has some dungeons that would put Tomb Raider to shame. And after beating it, I feel like this game might end up being one of my favorite games of the whole generation. Don't let the Metacritic score fool you. I actually truly believe this game should have been up closer to a 90. I think it's that good. Then just 1 day later on September 5th, another absolutely amazing game came out, and that's Chronos: The New Dawn. And I gotta say, I loved Bloober before, but they are just on fire this generation, man. I know some people didn't love the medium, but I thought that game was awesome. I really just hope Chronos and Hell Is Us get the sales they deserve, because they are not only 2 of the best games of this month, but the whole year. Their release timing is just brutal, man. I did see a post saying that Chronos had sold over 200,000 copies, and they have over 1 million wishlist or something, but you gotta imagine Silksong releasing the day before had to have affected their sales. In Hell Is Us, I haven't seen much of a sales update with that one. Usually if a game hits a milestone, they're gonna tell us. And this whole release week just didn't make sense. I'm not really sure why Silksong chose September 4th. Team Cherry was silent for 6.5 years and then just plopped the game right in the middle of the busiest 2 days of the year, surpassing over 6 million copies sold, which means they just had another massive payday. And I would think Silksong would have been even more successful if it found a lighter release window. They could have released this game any time this year and they would have killed it. And I know it's survival of the fittest, but you think these developers would kind of respect each other's timelines and stuff? I know Bloober Team made a post making light of the situation, but I would have been pissed if I were them. And I'm not saying this because I hate Silksong. I really like Silksong too, but I just feel like these other two games got the raw end of the deal here. And that's why I'm so adamant about supporting them, because they really do deserve it. And 6 days later, on September 11th, we got Borderlands 4. And while I've never been the biggest fan of the Borderlands games, I know this franchise is huge, and a ton of people were excited for this one, so I definitely wanted to bring that one up. Then a week later, on September 18th, we got Dying Light the Beast, which had a great start of its own, selling 1.5 million copies in the first week alone. I'm about halfway through this game, and I gotta say this. It's amazing seeing the series return to the original game's formula. The mood and the gameplay all feel like the first game again. The game feels weighty and less arcadey than the second game. Zombies actually react to your weapons hitting them, instead of being an animation like the second game. And the nighttime, it's actually scary again. It feels like the true sequel we wanted back in 2022. Dying Light 2 was a good game, but The Beast is a lot better in my opinion.
When you're feeling up to it, come talk to me.
Then right up there towards the top of the hype meter on September 25th was Silent Hill F. This time, instead of taking place in small-town Silent Hill, Konami takes us overseas to 1960s Japan, which is the first time in the Silent Hill franchise. And just like a lot of the other games in this video, this game ended up being great. The series not taking place in Silent Hill definitely felt weird, but also felt like it was perfectly done at the same time. The characters, the story, and the atmosphere are all spot on. And with the game selling over 1 million units just in its first day, I think it's safe to say Silent Hill as a franchise is here to stay. And just as I thought this month couldn't get any better, Hades 2 got its release date announced right in the middle of September, with its 1.0 release on September 25th.
Total eclipse.
The original Hades was my number 2 game of 2020, and it's been one of my most requested sequels ever since the original game's release. So when Hades 2 was confirmed for September, it officially cemented this month as one of the all-time greats. So on the same day as Silent Hill F, we also got Hades 2. I've only played about 15 hours of this so far because it came in so late in the month and I was playing Silent Hill F, but it's really good so far. And what I think is the best part of this game is that it confirms that Hades 1 was not a fluke. Supergiant is the king of roguelikes. If you like the first Hades, you're gonna love this one.
Come on, let's choose.
Don't you go anywhere, September 25th wasn't done. There's another game I was hearing great things about, and it was Sonic Racing Cross Worlds, which also came out on that Thursday. I haven't played it, but Ellie says she would love to get this, so maybe it'll be a Christmas gift for her later in the year. And the last game that came out on the final day of the month was a remaster of the 1997 PS1 classic, Final Fantasy Tactics, which brings updated visuals, gameplay, and some brand new voice acting. I never played this back in the day, so I'm excited to try it out at some point, but if Metacritic is to be trusted, it's looking to be a great game.
This fleeting life, cling to it not. Embrace inevitable end. Judgment Blade!
I let my guard down.
Alright, so that's the lineup for September 2025. All these games have either been good or really good. There really hasn't been any bad games this month, but honestly, what I think makes this September even crazier was the amount of amazing games that released right before September and right after. Gears of War Reloaded released on August 26th, and I've been playing that multiplayer all throughout September, so it's basically a September game for me. Metal Gear Solid Delta also came out 2 days before September on August 28th, and Shinobi Art of Vengeance came out on August 29th. And I haven't got to play this one, but my brother says it's awesome, so I'll go ahead and trust him on this one. Then right after September, the biggest PlayStation exclusive of the year, Ghost of Yotei, released on October 2nd. September was mind-blowing enough on its own, but when you add in these 4 games just outside of September, that's 13 games in a 36-day period. It's got to be the best stretch of video games I've ever seen. And that's just the ones I played or intend to play. I know there are people that are playing other games like Metal Eden, Baby Steps, and Megabonk. Megabonk has become one of my daughter's newest obsessions. I've had a lot of fun playing that with her and recording her reactions to it. Is this fun?
Yeah. This is like the funnest game I've ever seen.
It's the funnest game you've ever seen?
Yeah.
Oh, that top one might have been a good one. That top one was a legendary. It was gold. Hold on. Don't click anything. That top one is projectile speed. That's a good one.
Okay. My circle's so big. Right?
I know. I want to try and get the aura sometime. From the screenshots when you see this game for the first time, they look pretty dumb, but once you start playing it, it's addictive as hell. There have been at least 6 of these games during September where I stopped while playing them and thought to myself, this could be my game of the year, man. I feel like we're going to look back at this month, years down the line, and be in awe of the lineup that we got. So now that I've broken down all 6 of these months, November 2004, November 2007, May 2010, October 2017, February 2022, and September 2025, which one comes out on top? This is tough, man. These are the top 6 months of all time in my opinion. It's all subjective, of course. I mean, I made this video based on my taste and my opinions. It's hard to look at this September in like a retrospective light, since we just got done experiencing it. And we don't know if games like Hell Is Us or Chronos will end up getting sequels. And if they do end up getting sequels, then obviously the month will look a lot better years down the line. So with that said, after doing all this research, even though I came into this video intending to pick September 2025, I think I would have to say November 2007 has got to take the crown, at least for now. And I think it's purely because of how many new franchises it started, how good the games ended up being, and the fact that it has the game that launched Call of Duty into the biggest franchise in the world for decades, that seems pretty significant. And it's also pretty damn impressive that 6 of the 9 games that month were new IPs. To get that many new franchises in 1 month, and they were all massive successes and they went on to have multiple sequels, that's ultimately why I chose November 2007. And in my humble opinion, is the greatest month of video games we've ever seen. But what about you guys? Which gaming month would you vote for? Maybe it's whatever month your favorite game came out in. Hell, if I had to relive one gaming month ever in history, it would be May 2010, so I could play Alan Wake for the first time again. It's really subjective and everyone's favorite month is going to be different. But anyways guys, I hope you enjoyed the video, and with that said, thank you guys for watching, and until next time, stay in the light my friends. Later.